Hey friends, want to talk to you today about Joshua 1. And Joshua 1 is a pivotal passage in the Old Testament because you have to know what's going on. It is the beginning of the Israelite conquest of what became the area of Canaan, which was the promised land that God had promised to Abraham. But here's the thing. The Israelites first came across the idea of Canaan and decided not to go. They were disobedient. They sent out spies, and the spies came back and said, yeah, I don't think we can do that. And even though there were two spies, Joshua and Caleb, who said, God is for us, we can do this, the rest of the spies that were sent said we can't. And as a result of their disobedience, God sentenced them to wandering in the desert for another 40 years until that entire generation of people had died off. But Joshua 1 begins with them right back at the mouth of the Jordan River again, getting ready to cross and go into the land of promise to take what God had already said he was giving to them. And I think that that's a really big deal because you have to understand that as context and background, because essentially, even though we know the story, they didn't. All they saw was that their army was sitting there at the side of a river with the promise of going across the river and then being engaged in a military campaign to take down people that 40 years earlier, the spies said, you can't take those people. They are too big, they're too tall, they're too strong. And so they were confronted at every side with everything in their world telling them, you can't do it. You're not big enough, you're not strong enough, you're not smart enough, you can't do it. I know God has said to do it. I know he's told you that he would be with you along the way, but hey, let's be realistic here. Right? You're just too small. You're too insignificant. They're too big. They're too advanced. And so that's where we find the nation of Israel when God actually says to Joshua this famous line in Joshua 1:9. He says, haven't I told you? Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. Don't be dismayed because the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Man, can you imagine hearing that from the voice of the living God? Don't be afraid. Haven't I told you? I'm going to be with you. In fact, be strong and courageous. I'm going to be with you wherever you go. And I think that that's an incredible thing for us to consider in our own lives, because the truth is for us, brothers and sisters, the Spirit of the living God might call you to do all kinds of things. And let us not be the kind of people who shrink back, who look at the thing that we're being called to and say, it's too big, it's too hard, they're too smart, I'm too small. Let us not be people who do that, but rather let us be people who trust in the Lord our God, because we learn what happened in subsequent chapters is God dried up the Jordan River. And just like at the Red Sea, the people of Israel marched across this river on dry land. We learn for succession after succession after succession after that point, the nation of Israel wiped out cities and all these different things, and they literally took possession of the land that the Lord their God had given. They just got to walk forward into all these places obediently to what the Spirit of God had done, and what God did through them and in them was beyond their imagination standing on the other side of the Jordan. So brothers and sisters, my encourage you today would just be this. Don't let what's in front of you stop you from believing in the one who is above you. The Spirit of the living God directs you, you obey, and you follow. And he can dry up rivers. He can conquer kingdoms for his glory and for your joy. And let this be a battle cry for you today. Look back at Joshua 1:9 and hear the Spirit of the living God saying this to you as he calls you forward into whatever he has for you today. Have not I commanded you? I have. Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. Don't be dismayed, because the Lord your God is with you no matter where you go and no matter what he calls you to do.